Ah, good evening once more. Thank you for choosing to spend your evening with me. Last week's title was the graduation, and the highlights of that session basically was about celebrating the little wins. I think the example I gave there was me not being all excited about my graduation, for which I didn't want to even attend the ceremony to collect my diploma. And my roommates Sandy and Eric had to force me and drag me out to go to my own graduation ceremony. So in life, basically, I think it's always smart and wise to celebrate the little wins because an accumulation of the little wins would make the big wins, right? So instead of waiting for the big blockbuster win, let's learn to celebrate the little wins or the little victories as we go along. I also talked about the regret I had. I think I should, looking back upon reflecting, I think I should have allowed myself to enjoy and learn from the experiences that was afforded me. I should have attended the basketball games, the American football games. I should have gone to the spring breaks, go to the Cancuns. I should have attended the frat parties and stuff like that. So looking back, I think I should have taken advantage of those things, and also going attending to those things and participating obviously would have what do you call it would have increased my social network, because basically your social network is it's a network you carry with you as you go through life, and that's where you build your relationships and friendships. Some may be personal, some may be professional. So those were the highlights of the last session. Yesterday I got a call from a good friend that I happened to have sat on a board with, and he passed on a sad message. One of our good friends was older than us. We used to call him Uncle Harry Owusu. He actually succumbed to COVID, I think on Saturday. He was supposed to have been discharged from the hospital this early week, and he didn't make it. So it's pretty sad. Just this year alone, a good number of people that I know very closely have departed. So COVID is real. Let's not take chances. Let's not take it for granted. Let's adhere to the protocols, and let's protect ourselves and protect others. Yeah. The thing about Harry was he was a very unique individual, very nice gentleman, very likable, very friendly. And I used to always go to him anytime I had questions regarding corporate governance and directorship, protocols, procedures, and how it worked. Because he happened to have been a secretary to a board or a number of boards in his life, and he has massive knowledge about how that whole space, that whole business works. Corporate governance, secretary to the board, the protocols, the procedures, and all of that. So I always used to go to him. And I remember, anytime we had issues at the board level, and the way he would handle it and go about it, and the way he would submit his views and points, I was always impressed. So I always used to tell him, Uncle Harry, you got to write a book. You have to write a book, man. Your knowledge is so deep. You have to write a book. I'm not sure if he ever got the opportunity to read a book. So if you're listening and watching, no matter who you are and what you do, I'm sure you have some little gifts somewhere. I would recommend that you find a way of, writing down some notes and sharing them, doing a podcast if possible. If you want to do some live, shows here and there, I think you should do that. It's all about sharing the little things that we know that can actually advance the cause of who we are as people. So I strongly recommend that. In January, I mentioned another good friend, the top consultant that I always used to go to as well, who passed. So I'm realizing, and it's something that I've known for a while, that look, we have good resources, but we are not able to capture the knowledge and the experiences they have for other generations to tap into and then use. So anybody who's watching this is wondering why I'm doing what I'm doing, it's part of just sharing my little bit so that others can also leverage and then, advance whatever agenda that they are on. Today's session is entitled The Arrow, and we left off from last session, whereby I mentioned I had graduated, got a job in a good, in a company, working as an accountant. Within the, I did only 30 days there, and whilst doing it, I quickly realized that it wasn't what I had wanted to do with the rest of my life. So I had to change. And so I called my good friend, Mike, who happened to have graduated a year before me, working with one of the top consulting firms in the world, Booz Allen and Hamilton. So he was working with a technology wing, and Booz Allen and Hamilton at that time obviously was on the same level as Arthur Andersen, Coopers, and Lybrand, the top 6 accounting firms. Okay, so it's headquartered in McLean, Virginia, very difficult to get into. So when I spoke to Mike, Mike said, you know what, Mike, it's going to be tough for you to get into Booz because you don't have computer science background, you don't have information technology background, you don't have an MIS. Yes, you have a bachelor's and some 1 or 2 technology computer courses here and there, but it may not suffice. But I know you, so I would, as a friend, I will try and get you an interview. And typically, you're going to get about 3 or 4 different people who are going to interview you. If one person says no, they are not going to, take you. So look, let's give it a shot. So he gets me the interview, right? I go in there, and I do my best. And I was told, well, we'll get back to you within the week. So I was eagerly waiting for the call, whether it was going to be good news or bad news. And then lo and behold, HR calls me from Booz Allen. He says, well, Michael, we've considered your application. You know very well that this is a technology business. You don't have the requisite qualification because you don't have computer science, you don't have information technology, related background. So it's going to be tough for us to consider you. But the team has agreed to give you an opportunity because they liked your spirit, they liked how you interviewed, and they think that it's worth giving you an opportunity. But the bad news of the sort is that we are not going to compensate you the same as we do, for the normal entry level. So at that time, the normal entry level position is, out of college, you're talking about $50,000 to $55,000 a year. So then here I was, they made me an offer of $29,000. And I looked at it and I said to myself, you know what, it's okay. For me, what is most important is getting my foot in the door. And then once I'm able to get my foot in the door, then I'm going to prove my worth. So I got into Booz Allen. Obviously, when you get in there, they put you on probation. The first week, they'll do orientation. And then after that, they have to get you prepared so that they can, put you out there to go and, start making money for the firm. So on the technology side, at that time, they were using a platform called Action Request System, Remedy. And basically, this allows you to automate business processes. So they put me on a week crash course. So that was more like, entry level, so you will learn about how to use the Action Request System, platform tool to automate business processes and things like that. Then the following week, you do advanced. So there was 2 weeks crash course on how to use the tool. Unfortunately for me, or fortunately for me, right after the 2 weeks of, doing the crash courses, there was a project, the U.S. Coast Guard project, where there have been 2 white boys working on that project for the past 2 years, and they hadn't been able to complete it. So they said, well, Michael, why don't you go and take care of the project for us? Now, here I was, a guy without the requisite background, the requisite training, and they put me on the project. I went in there. Obviously, I always have my short prayers, go in there, and then start. So on that project, I quickly, familiarized myself with what the requirements were, what had to be done. Then I got myself going. 3 months after I started that project, I completed it. And I remember so well that I could go in there morning and I could sit for like 8 hours to 10 hours straight without even getting up. And all I did was just focus on delivering on the project. So in under 90 days, I got it done. And when I got it done, my bosses at the time were so impressed that I actually won an award for it, for that job. Now here I was, a guy with an accounting background who didn't have any serious exposure to technology stuff, gets into, a world-class consulting company, being put on a massive, serious project, and in the 90 days, I go in there and I deliver and I get an award for it. Not only did I get an award for it, within that same 6 months or whatever it was, I got bumped up to the entry level salary compensation package that most people who had technology backgrounds were getting. So they're talking about close to $60,000 at that point. So in life, sometimes you're going to take a step back. But don't be scared of taking a step back. When you analyze and you figure out that look, you're in the wrong place, or you're in a place where you think that it's not part of your journey or your agenda, analyze it quickly. And if there's a risk to take, and the risk is manageable, and a risk that may not lead to your death or cause you immense pain, then take that risk. So that's what I did. I said, you know what, okay, I'm going to take this this dip, but what I'm going to do is, when I'm able to get in there, I'll do whatever I can do to quickly make up for the dip and then accelerate. So, for example, to shoot an arrow, you got to pull it all the way back and then release it for it to go. There's a reason why you have drive or D on a car, and then you have reverse. So there are times when you want to move forward, you want to move your car, you got to go back. So all of these things are around us just to tell us that, you know what, sometimes you got to go back. Yes, you may take a hit, you may lose here and there, but if you put in what you have to put in, and the stars are aligned, largely it accelerates your moves you to where you have to be. That's the title for this session, the arrow. So anytime you're being set back, do not despair. Do not be discouraged. Don't think that, what do you call it? People are going to laugh at me, I'm a failure, whatever it is. Because guess what? Everybody's journey is different. I'm not saying just get up and take dips. Yeah? It depends on where you are in life, what circumstances are around you, and what your risk appetite and all of that. But largely, a lot of times people struggle when they have to take a step back. So also remember that, having worked as a security guard for like 18 hours consistently and pushing all of that, that discipline helped me go into Booz Allen and be able to sit and commit and do the work as fast as I could. You get what I'm talking about? So a lot of times, the experiences that we have is positioning us for bigger things in the future, but we are not aware. But the only way you can be aware of these things is when you take time to reflect. So that's why sometimes I recommend, look, do daily reflections before you go to bed. Analyze your day. What were the pluses, the minuses, the things you could have done better? You can do it on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, whatever. But it's important to do this self-reflection so that you can actually take note of some of these things and then keep on improving upon yourself. So, whilst at Booz, after the 6 months, whatever it is, at that time, you're talking about 1999, thereabout, yeah? There were two key certifications in the industry. You call the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, MCSE, and then you have the Cisco route, which is CCNP, CCNA, and then CCIE. MCSE was very, very hot because obviously Microsoft, owned most of the market share, 90% plus, whatever it is, and all of the systems that we were consulting and working for and all of that, they were using Windows, okay? So now MCSE was 6 exams that you had to take. And it was more like a requisite. You have to have it if you want to be a consultant. If you don't have it, look, then there's something off. So then here I was like, look, I have to nail these MCSE exams. So I decided to start taking the exams myself. So after work, I'll go home, sit, and just hack away. I will steady, and I'll sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours. Then, get ready to go to work. Then I started taking the exams. In the shortest possible time, I took all the 6 courses, passed them all. Now guess what it did for me? It actually increased my profile at work. It gave me confidence because now here I have the industry certification that most of my peers now have. I was an MCSE, and it was a big deal at the time because it was the thing, as a technology consultant, you have an MCSE. If you want to go on the networking route and you have the CCNA, CCNP, and you have a CCIE, then you're a kahuna, right? But that also gave me another confidence. And the lesson from all of that is, look, if you want something so bad and you commit to it and you focus, I think largely you will get it if you're willing to do the time. And I'm sharing all of these lessons because guess what? I have done them, and I'm not a superhuman being. I'm not a genius in any way. The only thing that I figured on was, look, just do your time, put your best effort, and see where it goes. But whilst at Booz Allen, now here I was back with my peers. I've gotten an award. I got a promotion from consultant to senior consultant. Then I realized that if I was going to move up, then I had to do what, up my game. But the interesting thing is this: as a consultant, you get to go out there, meet business folks. You have meeting with your team and stuff like that, and you have to be able to have conversations. You have to be able to communicate. But anytime we were in meetings, and even I had to introduce myself, if you mentioned my name, Michael Omankwa, I was always nervous. My knees would be shaking. I was very, very uncomfortable. I had a complex. I didn't think I could communicate very well. So it wasn't an issue of me being good technically, but I just felt that sense of not being good enough, because now here I was in an environment where largely it was white folks, and you're talking not ordinary white folks, but serious, smart white folks. You're talking a few minorities, African Americans and Chinese, Asians, here and there, and very rare Africans actually, whilst I was there. So I always felt inadequate. So even though technically I was good, I felt very, very inadequate. So then I realized that, look, if I was going to move to the next stage and I was going to be, powerful, then I had to work on that deficiency or challenge that I had. So I asked around, and then I was introduced to a club called Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is the social club where you go in there and you go work on your public speaking and interpersonal skills. Normally you start with what we call the competent Toastmaster track. It's a set of 10 speeches you have to give, between 5 to 10 speeches. And then you have members in there who will evaluate how well you did, what you didn't do, or how many how many unnecessary pauses, what you could do better. But all of these are positive, geared towards helping you improve. So I remember when I had my first speech, which normally they refer to as the icebreaker. For some strange reason, that day a lot of people didn't come to the meeting. And I don't believe anybody understood what I said, because I was very nervous and I brushed through it with my heavy accent. But I was relieved because I got it done. So here I was, I had identified that, I had an issue, I had a challenge with being able to communicate. It's not about just speaking English, but communicate with impact, with confidence. And therefore I decided to do something about it. Now I go in there, my first speech, my expectation wasn't really met. But the president at the time, Charles Thrasher, rest in peace, has passed on. I remember it so well because he used to have this nice hair, and then he did some, what do you call it, curls, twist, twist. And he always said, Michael, you do good, keep going. So what I did was, when I joined the club, that's Toastmasters, I also went for an officer position. So they have different positions. You have the president as the highest, and you have sergeant at arms as the least. And that was like the rub book. And that's what I went for. And sergeant at arms, what you do is you make sure the hall is ready for meetings. You also make sure that, if there are refreshments, they are there. You make sure that the timer, and the clock is there. The Toastmasters banner, is also there. So basically, but then I took that position so that I will not have any excuse not to attend meetings. So in life, you want to put things in your own way that will force you to do the things that you believe you have to do. So now here I was in Booz Allen, feeling all good, making, good money, because then if you're single, you live alone and all of those things, what are you going to use your money for, right? So consider it was good money. But the question is, where do I go from there? So I had to plot. So after I did my first speech, I moved on to the second, I moved to the third, the fourth. But something happened on the fifth speech. I did 10 years in America. Got an undergrad, got a master's, worked for one of the top consulting firms, started a business. All of those things, I would say that the most important thing I took away from America was my Toastmasters experience. And that started from my fifth speech. My fifth speech, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about it next week, Tuesday. So if you want to know, join me again next week, Tuesday. Until then, please please take care of yourself, invest in yourself, protect yourself, love others, be happy. Okay? I love you guys. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Bye bye.